Hello and welcome back to another episode of Screen Tested. I am your host Tyrant, where we take things from movies, TV shows, pop culture, try to create them in the real world and test them one-to-one from the media that they come from. Now in today's episode we are going to be looking at quite a popular and prevalent pop culture weapon, and that is the whip sword. This thing is seen in quite a lot of different IPs, things like Final Fantasy, The Last Dragon. I would even consider like the threaded cane from Bloodborne to be like kind of a whip sword, if I'm being honest with you. It's actually from a lot of different places. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and create one that is somewhat realistic and reasonable to the best of my ability, at least that can be achievable with the concept itself. And then we will put it to the test, see if it works, and finally give it a rating. This is one that I don't think I'm going to enjoy too much, if I'm being honest with you. I already am... Let's get started. I'm not really sold on a whip sword. Now I know that there is the Indian version, what is it, I think it's the Urumi. Even that I'm not too particularly sold on, and the reason why is because any video that I've seen people swinging those around, they basically have no edge alignment. No edge alignment exists. Now I do think that if that was to get, maybe wrapped around your arm, it could do some damage. However, I don't even think that that would be very effective against an armored opponent. I think it would kind of do nothing. It seems to be more for intimidation, as it doesn't really have any mass or edge alignment, so I suspect it would do pretty much nothing to armored opponents. And all of the clips that I've seen of the Urumi online are primarily like simple flourishes. I suspect to keep the momentum going, but all of this is to say that I'm not really sold on the concept yet. Okay, the whip sword build project was actually, it wasn't difficult and it wasn't as hard as I originally thought it would be. I had a lot of the stuff already in the workshop, like all of the raw materials. I basically just needed a chain, something that I could hold the links together, some steel to use as the individual blade segments, and some kind of handle, which I had. So the first thing I did was marked out segments on a flat piece of steel bar in decreasing size, because I want it to get smaller and smaller towards the tip, kind of like how a real whip works. Then I cut out all the individual segments of those steel. I drilled holes on each side so that the links can hold them together, and then I put a bevel and a sharp edge on each individual part. So I grabbed a bike chain and ground out some of the pins so that I could remove sections of the links that I would use to join all of the sections of the blades together. Then I just used some screws and bolts and a little bit of Loctite to keep it all together to create the whip blade. Then when it came to the handle, I already had this sword handle laying around. This is not like a proper sword handle, but I thought it fit the aesthetic of a whip sword really good, so I just decided to use that to make it nice and easy. It'll work nonetheless. And honestly, I think it worked pretty good. So with all that out of the way, let's reluctantly get to the testing. It is sharp, so this thing can cut. It has, look at this, look how floppy this is. This is like dangerous and shit all combined. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll start cutting things and maybe this thing will be awesome, but I highly doubt it. Now, the reason why I opted for these chains is this reason here. I have edge alignment, meaning I'm not gonna slap things are not gonna twist around. When I aim for something, the sharp edges are gonna align. So we hopefully will be able to cut something. Now, you may be wondering, why am I wearing my glasses? It's simply because the sun is glaring straight into my face. That's the only reason. And because I look cool. I look like a cool dude. Oh, I hate this so fucking much. Holy shit. I'm not. Please do not break and fly off. Please, please, please. All right, let's do this. It worked, kind of. It cut it. It actually cut that. I mean, it looks terrible, it looks gnarly and shit, but, It did a cut. I think this is just gonna rip this out of the holder, in all honesty. Like, I can move it, relatively speaking, quite quick. All right. That did absolutely all. For context, this is how a simple sword handles the exact same cutting medium. I felt like it doesn't even feel good, doesn't feel like it's cutting, doesn't feel like it's doing anything really. Okay, here we have a pumpkin. I know a lot of people like to get into the nomenclature of these different varieties. In my country, it's called a pumpkin, called a squash, I don't care. But we're gonna be trying it on this, and the reason why is because we should be able to see what type of laceration damage it can do. Oh, fuck. That was deep. I felt how deep that went. That's what she said, and it was deep. Look at that. Can you see that? I'll model it a little. Can you see that? That is a huge cut. You can see where the chain embedded and versus the sharp blades of it. Shit, that was not bad. I didn't expect that to actually be as effective.
You're actually gonna try and thrust with that thing.
Am I gonna try and thrust with it? How the
You might as well meme it.
I'm pushing a rope. Yeah, it turns out a whip sword is not very good for thrusting. Who would have thought? If you're enjoying today's episode, then you should consider subscribing. Tony would really appreciate it. All right, stand still and I'm gonna try and cut your head off. How you going here, Tony? You doing good, buddy? Resting up against the tree? I mean, it's not what I pay him to do, but he should get his full 8 hours, shouldn't he? You know what? You can stay up against the tree and I will just do all the work. You just stay. He has a headache. That feels interesting. Okay, come straight back at me. Fuck. Hit him with the tip. One thing I am curious about though, genuinely, is how much damage would it do if it was already around the neck? Honestly, that's not biting in. I actually thought one of the virtues of this type of weapon is that it would be able to wrap around something and cause devastating laceration damage. However, this is just sliding straight off. That one bit in. I felt that one bite in. No damage at all. Not only that, it feels terrible. It feels like I'm not imparting much actual force onto things. Oh. Ouch. That was right on the elbow. So what I'm trying to do now is actually get it to go over the shoulder and then try and pull down to see how that does. And then we got tangled again. I'm sure it's a feature and not a bug, right? Nah, that f***ing came back at me. Nope. Oh, there's always one. All right, getting into the score and the ranking. When it comes to the design, let's start off with design. There are lots of different designs, lots of different, franchises that have whip swords. We're gonna be going with this one, obviously, but they're all kind of the same sort of concept. I hate it. It's an articulated weapon, which can be very unpredictable at the best of times. I did try and mitigate that a little bit by giving this one edge alignment, so at least I could get my edges to cut things, which it kind of did, but the design itself is just not that good. This is not that useful. The only use that I can really think about it is as a torture device, like I said, an unarmored opponent. And even then, like, other weapons will do better. Anyway, I'm in for design like a 2. I hate this thing. I do not like this. When it comes to effectiveness, same sort of thing. It can do some damage. It's sharpened metal, and sharpened metal will do damage no matter what. But the moment this comes across like an armored opponent, like yeah, I will do an actual strike on my arm. It's kind of nothing. So in terms of effectiveness, I'm in around 2. It's around a 2 again. When it comes to the wieldability, now this one, surprise, surprise, 1. It's fucking terrible. This is worse than a whip, because at least the whip, they can be an unpredictable weapon. Once you get proficient with them, once you get better at them, they are very wieldable, and even then, the danger that they can pose to the user is still kind of low. This one, the danger it poses to the user is high. It can be very unpredictable, and it can be even worse if it didn't have edge alignment. It would be way worse than that. So yeah, wieldability is trash on this. And lastly, when it comes to comfort, I mean, 5. I mean, it has a sword hilt. It's, you know, it's a normal sword handle. That's perfectly comfortable, I guess. There's not really too much egregious with the comfort, so I can't fault it for having a standard handle on it. And that gives us a final score. That gives us a final score of 10 out of 40 for the whip sword. Now, look, I hate it. And I know that there are other weapons of this. I think I mentioned it earlier, something like the Urumi, I think that's how you pronounce it, from India. But even that, I'm dubious on. I'm not 100% sold on it. And I've always, when I see people using them, it's always crazy that it's basically dudes wearing bare feet and no top on with like a razor sharp, whippy sort of sword. It's kind of crazy. But even that sort of whip sword, I do think would be pretty much almost useless when it comes to armor. And I feel like this one could impart more kinetic energy because it's heavier, and even this I don't think would be very good. And that's comparing it to something like the Urumi. Maybe I'll have to get one to test them out. Maybe I'm wrong. I am open to being corrected in the future, hopefully by myself if I'm being an idiot right now. But that is all for today's episode. Honestly, I'm not into this one. It wasn't even that bad. Tony didn't mind it either. Yeah, there you go. Now, thank you guys for watching. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. Remember, you can like and subscribe, leave a comment down below if you've got anything that I should test in the future. And if you want to support this channel, this content, I would very much appreciate it. You can become a channel member down below. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, guys. And as always, I'll see you in another episode next week. Have a good one.